Hey, Michael Leckie here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a consultant, author, and advisor, and I work with my clients on helping change their organizations for good. Glad you could join me today. I want to touch on something that I've been thinking about around the ways that we're working now with people being remote and virtual and on video conference all the time. And it's not about how we've done that, which I've talked about before, how to do that better. It's about actually understanding how is work getting done in this new kind of remote and virtual world, because some aspect of that is going to stay with us for a greater or lesser extent as we move forward and people, return to work in whatever fashion that shows up. So one of the things I want to think about is how do you look at the nodes in the network and understand from that how work is getting done? Now, first I want to say, don't go all big brother on it. This recommendation is not for increased surveillance of our people. It's for understanding. But one of the things we can do to understand is to see who's involved in the conversations, who's involved in what conversations. Now, gathering that information can be as simple as, looking at calendars or giving people, having people send to you a list of this is what I'm attending. It could be all the way down to doing the data analytics and having your IT department look at and assess who is on calls, how often on videos, how are they the ones that are starting them and setting them up, engaging them. But what you're going to find as you begin to look at the patterns, however you gather the data, is that some people are starting to show up as nodes in that network. And they may not be the same people that were showing up as nodes in the network before. People working differently may be working differently. And we need to understand where are the folks that are connecting, that are driving connection, that are bringing things together, that are getting things done. So there's a lot more ways to look at the data than what I talked about here. You can look at the frequency of conversation as it gets close to delivery of key items in your business, whatever it may be. But what I would encourage you to do is to start to think a little bit differently about, are we working differently or not? Because if you are, you need to understand that, especially if you're a leader and you're going to manage that, you need to understand how it's working. Again, I want to caution you, be careful when you start looking at people's activities and what they're doing, because right away, people are going to assume the worst if they don't know what it's all about. So if you're going to do this, I would suggest you do it openly and you have a conversation as to what it's all about. And for goodness sake, don't have anything punitive come out of it. Instead, when you see things that are working really well, you can talk about that. And be careful of mistaking things that are correlated for causal. Don't start having people say, I better be in a whole bunch of these calls and those calls to show that I'm really working. You don't want that either. This is just for understanding as to how it's actually working now, and to figure out how do you work in this new world of work. Thanks for joining. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can put comments here on YouTube. If you're not seeing this on YouTube, it's on my website. You can certainly send me an email, michael@silverbackpartners.net. And of course, my website is silverbackpartners.net. Love to hear from you and keep the conversation going. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.